the last seat for me.
Let's go in order. Oh, that is bright.
All right.
Very bright.
Yeah. All right, fantastic. Everybody in the back hear me? Thumbs up? Fantastic. Brilliant. Thanks, everybody. My name is Benny Ayalu. I'm a customer engineer with Google, focused on healthcare and life sciences. And I've got the extraordinary privilege of chairing this panel today for AI in the bleeding edge side within startups. So I'll quickly rifle through the introductions and we'll get right down to our questions. We've got Daniel Baer joining us today from Noetic, Kamal Jatwani joining us from Moffitt, Ankit Gupta from Ginkgo, Kevin Marks from Delphine, Zelda joining us from Bioptimus, and Josh Sutton joining us from Syndesis. All right, fantastic. Okay, my first question to the panel is, as we all heard from Dr. Hood's incredible keynote, there's this incredible explosion of biomedical data, very multimodal, incredibly deep, and explosively growing. Love to hear from each of you panelists in terms of both opportunities and challenges that you are seeing, both around the hyperscale growth of the data, as well as the tools that are utilized to extract insights from them for patient care. So we'll go left to right.
Sure, thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me, really excited to be here. I'm the VP of Digital Ventures at Moffitt Cancer Center, which is a large integrated cancer center in the Southeast in Florida. We have a really interesting problem here with data because we see a ton of very complex cancer patients. So patients will come to us mostly when they fail their first-line treatment. So they come in, second-line treatment, third-line treatment, and so forth. And so by the time they come to us, they already have 1,000 pages of data already generated somewhere else. So our system tries to put all that together, extract meaning out of it, and then in prospectively sort of take all the other data that we're generating and putting into a data set. We have an incredible data warehouse, but so much of the data in the warehouse is what I would say not super usable right away. So there's a whole engine around how do you take that data, how do you make it available, usable, analyzable, and then generate insights out of it. And it's incredibly expensive and time-consuming to be able to do that. But then we have on the other side a bench of faculty, about 1,000 researchers that are looking at that data on a daily basis, figuring out what they do with it. And we've come up with some innovations out of that data set and out of some of the algorithms, and they're game changers, right? Those algorithms are very exciting. I think if we were to win this game as a cancer center, we probably have to do both those things maybe 10x better and faster to be able to create real meaning. And that's, I think, where I would say our biggest challenge is.
Incredible. Wonderful.
Hey everyone, I'm Ankit Gupta. I'm the head of AI at Ginkgo Bioworks. We're a Boston-based cell engineering solutions partnership company. We have a giant in Seaport, heavily roboticized wet lab to do a lot of cell engineering there. I have maybe a slightly provocative answer to this question, which is that I actually think there's not nearly enough data for what we care about most when it comes to preclinical biology, and especially in the context of understanding cancer. I think if you think about the immense complexity of the types of cells you're trying to model and how you might develop therapeutics for them, especially there's a big mismatch between the kind of data that already exists, either largely locked up in the vaults of pharma companies and to some degree existing in the public domain, and what you would actually want. I think the way I think about this is a lot of data that exists about cancer cells in particular, so things like what small molecules hit a particular cancer cell or what perturbations cause tumor growth or not growth. Most of that data was generated to answer human hypotheses. It tends to be an intelligent KOL, an intelligent set of labs that have explored a set of perturbations or cells or therapies that they believe work against a particular thing. It also tends to mean that the data is heavily clustered, right? If you were to imagine a simple two-dimensional projection of that data, you would see a bunch of clusters of similar small molecules or similar cells or similar perturbations applied to them. And heavily clustered data is not usually the kind of data you want for training machine learning models. You usually want what we would say as IID samples from a Gaussian. You would want data that looks like widely distributed samples that represent the underlying true diversity of the space you're looking to model. And so I think what's going to be needed for really good machine learning models in cancer biology, especially in the context of perturbations or therapeutic effect on cells, it's going to look like a lot of new data. It's going to look like people generating really large-scale data sets of perturbations. I think some of the companies on this panel are building this kind of data set, and Ginkgo is providing that kind of data, and so I'm biased in a sense. But I think a lot of what companies find is they hope that they can get a lot of value out of whatever's sitting on the shelf or what might be in the open domain. And in fact, what you need to do is actually drop what is likely millions or billions of dollars to develop these much larger scale data sets of the type that, if you look at GPT-4, trained on literally every single word on the internet. If you want that kind of outcome, we're going to need to invest in those types of data.
Awesome.
Great.
Josh.
Hi, everybody. I'm Josh Sutton. I'm the CEO of Syndesis Health, and I would agree with you. I don't think that there's enough data, and when we actually started Syndesis Health, we specifically set out to solve that problem. So what we've done is focused on building a very large and very ethnically and regionally diverse data set for people to leverage. So right now we've built that up to about 50 million patient lives of detailed clinical data, nearly 1 million whole genome sequences tied to that, and we're making that available to partners. So the biggest challenge we've had with that has been all of the various regulation in different countries around the world, all of the technical difficulties of harmonizing that data and making that data usable by all of our partners from each of those hospitals, each of those countries, dealing with both the infrastructure, which Google's been great in helping with, looking at federation, looking at different approaches to capitalize on that. But really allowing us to do what we do best, which is aggregate data. And at the end of the day, we're not trying to solve cancer. We're trying to provide the data for everybody else in this room to cure cancer.
Awesome. Amazing.
Hi everyone, I'm Zelda. I'm a principal research scientist and co-founder at Bioptimus. And Bioptimus is a company that trains foundation models for biology. So similar to Josh and Ankit, I'm going to say the more data we have, the better. It's not a challenge, it's a solution. And indeed, like the more data we have, the more diverse it is, the more robust our models are going to be. Maybe for a challenge that hasn't been mentioned specifically within the context of multimodality, we aim to build a multi-scale model for biology, so something that would connect models of the cell, of the proteins, of the tissue, maybe all the way to the patient. And so the abundance, or relative abundance today, of multimodal data makes that possible, but also raises a lot of really interesting challenges from the modeling perspective. Spatial transcriptomics in particular have given us a really nice way of thinking about how to connect H&E slides to like gene expression, for example, but this is a whole field that still remains to be discovered. And I think that's a really fascinating challenge as well.
Amazing.
I'm Dan Baer. I'm the director of AI at Noetic. And I think the scale and the nature of the data we're seeing right now is both a blessing and a curse. As a bunch of people have mentioned earlier today, this is a type of data that the human brain did not evolve to process. And if you think about, say, spatial transcriptomics data, a modality that we're very focused on, and compare that to, internet images on which computer vision methods were developed, the internet images are maybe a few megapixels, they have 3 color channels. Here, the data coming from a single patient could be many, many megapixels, and you're looking at thousands or tens of thousands of genes. So, it's just a completely different scale, and one that, we are not natively able to understand very well. So I think that, it is a challenge for us to develop the methods that, can see through all of this new types of data and understand what's going on there.
Amazing.
And hello, I'm Kevin Marks. I'm a co-founder of a cancer therapeutics company called Delphia and work as an investor at GV. So as I hear my colleagues, I think some really great observations about omics data, particularly sort of in a wet lab setting. And maybe something to add to it is, I think one of our really great challenges and opportunities is the explosion of human data that is available to us broadly as a community and how we think about that. So I'll extend the question or the topic that little bit. Yeah. Across 2 decades as a cancer drug hunter, I think one of the most sort of repeated lessons has been that the best teacher about what to target therapeutically, the highest predictive factors for success of new oncology therapies is actually human clinical data, right? And so we have sitting before us and in front of us now this tremendously growing wealth of human genetic data, real-world empiric data on how therapies are used and not used. And really there's some fundamental problems of how to synthesize that data, how to integrate it, but also to pull together data sets much, much larger in an integrated fashion. Look for causal biology directly in patient material. I think that some of the work picks up on what you were just saying, Dan. But think about that even more broadly, right? So as a field, we've gone from very simple, what's a one gene that causes cancer, and then go and drug that. Now, if we can understand in a multifactorial capacity that might exceed beyond what my simple little human brain can figure out, what are the multifactorial causes in that patient, that could actually teach us new therapeutic targets, and ones that, because it's derived from human clinical data, will have a higher predictive success going forward in therapies.
Fantastic, thank you. Dr. Marks, we'll stay with you and go in reverse order this time around for the second question for the panel. There's an incredible and understandable need for focused execution in the startup domain, out of an abundance of self-preservation and just really making sure that you nail that MVP as you are executing in this domain. We've heard throughout the day around the number of opportunities that lie for what's possible when collaboration really does take to the next step. Curious to hear where you see both challenges and opportunities around collaborating beyond your immediate focus areas. So start with you and work backwards. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. And Delphia, the company at which I work, we are a small group, right? And so have to, as you alluded to, have to stay very tightly focused on our mission and our core. One thing that I'm finding that I think there's opportunity for us in is collaboration between smaller startups. So it's pretty common, right, that companies or new enterprises will collaborate with an academic center, right, access to data or samples of material. Pretty common also for that small company to seek out and try to partner or collaborate with large multinational pharmas or other sort of big players, right? And it turns out I think there's both culture fit reasons and sort of shared need reasons where actually collaboration between small startups can be fast and very, very effective. We're actually in a collaboration right now. We are very therapeutically focused on advancing our lead programs. We have a collaboration with a similarly sized, very early stage company that has a machine learning platform based on optimizing drug properties. We collaborate together. It basically enables us to move faster towards our lead assets. It enables them to do some of the work to try to understand how to optimize the platform, seek out product market fit. And the way it goes is actually we have joint weekly project team meetings across these 2 separate businesses. Now our missions are compatible but not competitive, and it's very enabling of that. I'd have to say across 2 decades now, I haven't seen 2 separate business entities get together that quickly and move together that quickly. So something I'd encourage people to think about is look for early stage partners who have the same kind of sort of fast twitch drive to move quick and break things.
Yeah, I mean, there is a common flow that is cancer at the end of the day, right? I mean, that's just really what drives it. Please, Dan.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I'm not sure I have anything else to add to that, but like being fast is paramount, and I think especially given how valuable data coming from actual patients, from clinical trials, like where that's the most information dense data that we could work with. That is almost always going to come through collaboration, whether it's with another company or a hospital or academic labs, and hopefully those collaborations are mutually beneficial. But I think they're really essential to the discovery process that we need to execute on.
Amazing. Zelda, please.
Maybe to add to everything that's been said, because yes, moving fast is so important, and also we have the pleasure of being in a field where everybody really wants to make progress. Everybody wants to move forward as fast as possible. Maybe one thing I'd add is, again, when you're in the business of foundation models, you take on the onus of training something that's really computationally intensive, takes a lot of time, so that people downstream can use it super fast and iterate. And that actually creates a very nice opportunity to put something into the wild and just have people go wild, try it out, see what can happen. People will try out things that we won't think about. And so in our case in particular, looking at making models open source, fully available to academic and non-academic labs, for example, has been a huge source of speed up in terms of understanding what this technology can do.
So when we think about partnership, one of the key things that we try to focus on is how do we create value for every single person and every single company in that ecosystem? So when we partner with hospitals, for example, around the world, one of the biggest problems they always have is the chief medical officer says, I know my data is valuable, I know it should be used more, but I can't prioritize the budget for that. I need to pay doctors, I need to do more training, I need to hire more staff. So we cover that problem for them. But we've spent most of our money there. So we look to other partners to use that data to actually create AI models, to create better clinical trials, to actually drive real value out of that, which then winds up going back to the beginning and creating better care for the patient. So it creates a really nice flywheel, kind of a virtuous system. And that's how we think about partnerships. Like I look out in the audience and I see Atropos there, who's been a great partner to us in creating value back to the beginning. So that's kind of how we look about it and how we think about it.
Fantastic.
I think one of the things I think about is how in early stage R&D in biotech, it's actually a very strangely vertically integrated field. Like a huge number of, if you look at a big pharma company, you look at most biotechs, they're doing most things themselves. In comparison to, say, you take your average tech company that's selling a SaaS tool, say Uber with 10,000 people, they are using 1,000 different pieces of software that they license for 1,000 different uses. And I think I think biotech would benefit a lot from being able to come up with ways, biotech and pharma, life sciences broadly, would benefit from ways of making business models for software as a service, for having credible opportunities for companies to sell SaaS tools actually work. And so a big part of what we're focusing on is building that type of opportunity. So we have a model API we recently launched that our goal there is actually to make it so others can build products on top of our tools, right? Really democratize access to open source models as well as models we've trained at our risk on our data at our expense. And not necessarily try to get a milestone deal and a multi-million-dollar upside and a 2-year contract in order to get access to it, but just price per use, just like OpenAI or Anthropic would, and allow people to build on top of it. I think we see there being a lot of opportunity by making access to really powerful tools be democratized and for people to be able to build on top of it. And so we think of collaboration in many ways as, how can we enable others to build things on top of individual tools and pieces that we can provide. And we'd love to work with people to figure out what those most useful tools would be that can enable them, as opposed to everyone trying to keep everything caged in and vertically integrate a lot of their capabilities.
Great, and I love the question because we have a strong belief, being part of a big cancer center, that collaboration and community building is one of the biggest tenets in which we move the field of oncology forward, especially with digital and AI, because these are not core competencies that health systems have or payers have, right? So we need to collaborate. As part of that, we are now part of the largest public-private partnership in oncology called Cancer X. It's with the White House and ONC on the government side and Moffitt Cancer Center on the private side. We've come together about 18 months ago. We have 181 oncology organizations that are part of this network now, which is really incredible because we have organizations from all sorts of parts of the ecosystem. We have health systems, payers, investors, startups, pharma companies, et cetera. And within this collaboration, we have each of these domain areas sort of working with each other. So all these health systems collaborate with each other, pharma companies work with each other, but then we also have cross collaboration between these different parts where we come together and do certain things like an accelerator. So We launched a startup accelerator last year. We had amazing success in year one. We literally had 15 different organizations that came together and said, we're going to work together to accelerate some of these companies. And I think we had tremendous results. We launched our second cohort last week. So again, startups in the audience, if you have digital, AI, and cancer in your mission statement, you should apply. What we're able to do as a collaboration or as a community is really take organizations and match them up with startup companies to figure out how we can take them from one part to the other. So last year we had 16 companies and we got 11 definitive commercial contracts as a result of our accelerator. We got 2 big investments, and our companies raised over $70 million in investment in 4 months during the part that they were with us, along with getting a lot of contracts. This year we have Dana-Farber joining us. We also have Memorial Sloan Kettering, in addition to Atrium and Moffitt Cancer Center as our health systems. We have Flare Capital, we have Oncology Ventures, a bunch of other investors. We have technology companies that have come together. So it's an incredible way to think about community, and I think to answer your question, it's a really good example of what community can do in order to accelerate new things, because it's scary AF. If I can say that, right? Because when I go back to my constituents within the cancer center, they're like, AI is going to take my job, I don't want to fire people, and like AI is not safe, and it's not effective, and what if our data gets leaked? There's like only concerns. And so I use this community to really bring excitement into the organization to say, yes, 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 all of that is true, and yes, we probably will have to fire half the people, but let's look at what we can do with redeployment. Let's look at how we can expand our footprint and treat more patients with the same number of people. There's a lot of ways to frame this, and I'm learning so much from the community and how they're addressing the same problems within their organization. So I think if we have to achieve adoption of AI, we have to do it together, and there's no other way to do it.
Brilliant, brilliant. Well, you all heard it here. There's collaboration opportunities abound and available for us. So with the brief remaining time we have, if I'm going to give you a 2 to 3 word quota of where you and your organization would place your bets in the face of all this abundant opportunity space, right at the intersection of explosive biomedical data sets and these novel tools with AI to derive insight and interpret that data for the benefit of good patient outcomes, where would those placements be? 2 to 3 word quota. We'll start at the end and work our way backwards.
Speed. Patients don't have time to wait, so applying AI to enable us to move faster.
Amazing. Yeah.
Say discovering patient diversity. I have more words than I can explain more later.
Amazing.
Connecting models at different scales of biology.
Awesome.
Global multi-omics data.
There it is.
Open source models.
Came in 1 under quota. Go for it.
I'll say 3.
Yes.
Precision medicine for advanced cancers, really important. All back office stuff should be AI and no humans involved ever again. And then the third one would be equitable care. How do we make sure that everyone's getting the same kind of care, no matter where they live, who they are, whatever.
Woohoo. Brilliant, brilliant. Well, it's been a great pleasure to host this incredible panel. On behalf of Google Cloud and our brilliant sponsors, just wanted to say thank you to each and every single member of this esteemed panel to share their thoughts and their insights in bringing meaningful progress in the battle against cancer. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay, am I on? I know that I am the only thing standing between you and a cocktail. I'm very well aware. Okay, so we'll go, and I just wanted to give you a little bit of background on Komen, and it is October, and you might have noticed that there's some pink around in October, and I'm here to represent. But you might not know that the reason that October happened is because of Susan G. Komen and Breast Cancer Awareness Month. It was the promise between 2 sisters, And one of them was Susan G. Komen, who actually died of breast cancer at 37 years old. And her birthday was October 31st. Her favorite color was pink. So the movement that was started because of Komen and because of Susan has been really, really massive. But we'll start and just give you a little bit of background about Komen.
You know I'm back, like I never left. Another sprint, another step. Another day, another breath. Been chasing dreams, but I never slept.
I feel glorious, glorious. Got a chance to start again. I was born for this, born for this. It's who I am. I couldn't forget. I made it through the darkest part of the night, and now I see the sunrise. Now I feel glorious, glorious. I feel glorious, glorious. I made it through the darkest part of the night, and now I see the sunrise. Now I feel glorious, glorious. I feel glorious, glorious.
So Komen's been around for 40 years, and it's been a movement that has mobilized literally the entire world. And I bet a lot of you know about us. You've seen the pink tutus, you've seen our walks, you've seen our races, but you probably don't know all of the breadth and depth of what we do. But before I dive in, I just have to let you know a little bit about me, because breast cancer is not just my job, it literally is my passion. I lost my mom to metastatic breast cancer, so I knew that in the fabric of my DNA there was probably a chance that I would get it, and I did. I had triple negative breast cancer myself. I'm an 18-year survivor, but I wouldn't be standing here in front of you or certainly doing this work had I not had that disease. Because it has motivated me to move on in my life and give my time and treasure and everything that I have to curing this disease. My mom died of metastatic breast cancer. My brother died of metastatic prostate cancer. My sister had melanoma. My husband carries the BRCA gene. I have 2 daughters, so enough said. I'm in it to win it, and it's really, really personal for me. And it's a very big threat to my family. So my personal vision of a world where no one dies from breast cancer is the same as the organization that I run. So here I am, and today is my actual work-iversary. I've been here 7 years, and as my job as the CEO and the president of Susan G. Komen, and I've seen a ton of changes that are here because of advances in technology and in AI, and they're making magic happen, and it's pretty incredible. But most importantly, when it comes to advances in research, we've made some incredible progress in the last 40 years. In fact, we've helped reduce breast cancer mortality by more than 42% from the time that we started. And in the last 10 years, there were 19 breast cancer drugs that were approved by the FDA, and Komen was a part of every single one of them. We were early investors. And the reason that that's important is because there's no one else that will do what we do. We don't do it because there's a big ROI for us. Our ROI is actually saving lives. So it's an incredibly important organization with so many different things that we do. And as many of you know, and you've seen here, that it's a very long and arduous path from idea to impact. And Komen has funded many of the projects and the people also that make hope a reality here. We are the second largest in funders of research other than the US government. And it's almost 1.2 billion since our founding more than 40 years ago. And about $10 million in research grants showing how artificial intelligence and big data can be used to help improve outcomes for patients. And as importantly is our work that we do in public policy and advocacy. We're the only dedicated breast organization serving as a nonpartisan voice, and yeah, we're the only one that could be nonpartisan right now. For more than 4 million survivors that are in the US, on Capitol Hill, and in all 50 states. So last year we introduced legislation in 29 states with the support of we have about 120,000 volunteers that help us. And there's a lot of power in women in pink with pitchforks because we get shit done. And that we had, of the 29 bills that we introduced, these are providing key patient protections and removing barriers to care. And the work allows us to continue funding free mammograms for people that need them the most. And we passed 19 of those 29 bills, which is pretty incredible. And this year we have introduced legislation in 34 states, and hopefully we'll be able to pass the majority of them. So we're reaching families all over the country and beyond, and we have become a global movement. And this is, we have I'd say about 60 races and walks around the country here. And then we have about 22 in Europe. Our biggest by far, which is kind of surprising, is in Rome. And in Rome, we had our 25th anniversary of our Race for the Cure. The gentleman that I'm shaking hands with in the middle is the president of Italy. And he is he is the host of our Race for the Cure in Rome. We had over 110,000 participants just in the Rome race alone. It took almost 2 hours for them to get over the starting line. And it closes down the entire city. And we walk around the Colosseum, and literally when you see it from a drone shot, it is miles and miles and miles of people in pink. And it's really, really amazing. And we're doing a lot to save lives, and we're saving a lot more lives today than we did 40 years ago, for sure. But we have a lot more work to do. Every 12 minutes in the US, someone dies of breast cancer, and as I'm sure you all know the statistic, that 1 in 8 of women will be diagnosed with breast cancer in her lifetime. So how is technology helping us to save lives from cancer today? I mean, we've been up here all day talking about the glories of the cell cycle and how technology is working and all of the different avenues that we have. So let me tell you about one of our most promising Komen scholars and how AI is disrupting the system for better. And this is a woman by the name of, she's a Komen scholar, her name is Regina Bargelet, and she's not only studying technology, but she discovered that she could use AI to help read mammograms years earlier, and she does this magnificent speech where she shows her mammogram from 3 years before she was actually diagnosed, and how it showed by using AI then, she would have been diagnosed at stage 0 or stage 1 versus the later stages. So when this becomes a standard of care, the outcomes are going to be so much better for everyone. And studies have shown that incorporating AI technology into the reading of the mammograms have increased cancer detections by 20% and earlier, and without increasing any false positives, which is really great because no one wants to hear that they think you have it and then you don't, right? So this reality illustrates the potential of AI to transform the patient outcomes because we know that breast cancers that are caught earlier, you have a much better chance of living. And that's the most important thing. So the use of AI in mammography is obviously garnering significant attention. I know we've talked about it up here on the stage a couple of times today, and it's demonstrating promising outcomes, but the extent of their adoption varies, right? Notably, there are clinics and hospitals that are in prominent regions are just starting to use this. And one of the big things that we have to watch out for is actually disparities and creating more disparities because of the cost of doing this. So there's the data also is not yet comprehensive. An AI data standard utilized for mammograms aren't happening yet, but they will be. So they're still being studied to ensure that they are indeed as effective as regular mammograms read by radiologists alone. And we also have to ensure that all patients are included in the design research for AI. And to be fully effective, we have to make sure that the AI algorithms are continually monitored, tested, and evaluated because we are a patient organization and we want to make sure that we never harm the patients that we want to help. So AI is being incorporated into the breast cancer screening and diagnosis, and the systems can expedite the review of mammograms by radiologists and breast tumor samples by pathologists while maintaining or enhancing accuracy. So while it's all exciting, right, and it's very, very promising, we have to ensure that the utilization of AI doesn't deepen the disparities or create additional barriers to high quality care due to the increased costs or limited availability or lack of regulation and standardization or a design that doesn't help all people. I didn't come from the medical world, and I find it to be so slow. I came from the fashion world where we created an outfit, we got it out the door, and you had 1 minute to sew it, and you did. And here, everything takes so much longer than I feel like it should. So it's really exciting to be here today and to be able to listen to all the new technologies and that we're being able to use. But I often quote Dr. Frida Lewis Hall, who said, "We are still delivering Star Wars advancements in technology and in a Flintstones era healthcare system." And not everyone lives close to a major medical center that offers the latest and the greatest. And we also have to balance the use of new technologies with their impact to patients. How will this impact them? If there's a cost for AI-read mammograms that not everyone can afford, then not all AI models will benefit patients equally. So we need to ensure that the technologies are covered by insurance. That's really, really important. And that's where our advocacy groups like Susan G. Komen and our Center for Public Policy become really, really important. And we are funding several innovative research projects that combine mammogram images, a person's health history, and liquid biopsy results, and combining these different streams of data and using AI. And by combining all of this complex information, these researchers can not only detect breast cancers faster, more accurately than our existing tools, but they can also figure out who's at risk, who's a higher risk for developing breast cancer in the future based on their health information. And it's just the beginning of what we can do with advanced technology. So, although the technology is incredibly important, AI is not going to replace the human connection and the element that is so desperately needed during breast cancer treatment. We have a helpline, and our helpline last year we got 60,000 calls on our helpline, and the majority of the questions are, I've been diagnosed or my wife's been diagnosed and I don't know what to do. And we have psychosocial workers that help to guide them through an ecosphere that is very, very challenging. Breast cancer is the most expensive cancer to treat. It's the most complicated cancer. On average, you have between 11 and 14 doctors. And if you don't speak the language or you're not, highly educated, I will tell you, I speak the language, I am educated. I went through my triple negative breast cancer world, and it was brutal trying to figure out all the avenues. So the personal care is really, really important. And although I think I had 16 doctors during my treatment, I can't remember a lot of their names, but I do remember Susan, and Susan was my patient navigator. And I followed Susan around like a puppy. And I don't follow anyone around like a puppy, but boy, when she said to me, this is not a death sentence, and we are going to help you get through it, that was the most important news that I could hear. So everything else in the background, you're still going to need the human touch. But, the simple truth of this is really that nothing is going to cure cancer other than research, right? So AI, all of the tools that we've discussed today are all very beneficial in helping with research. And I'm going to kind of take that back, because there's nothing that's going to cure cancer other than cash, because cash is what pays for the research. And that's what's going to keep everyone motivated and going on. And although the research has already brought us life-saving discoveries, and there are less people that are dying from breast cancer, but we're still leaving people behind. And as you know, the AI models are only as good as the data sets that they are trained on, right? And these data sets are not always representative of the broad and diverse breast cancer community that it serves. So this is the same problem with cancer research. The patient population is incredibly diverse, and the data that they're studying isn't. So in recognizing this need, Komen, we've spent the last 3 years launching a really, really innovative project called Share for Cures. And it's a program that allows researchers to access the information of all who have been impacted by breast cancer so everyone can benefit from their discoveries. Essentially, it's a patient-led portal where we have gone directly to patient, because we have millions of people in our database, and we have thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of survivors and people that are living with METs that we talk to. So it's a patient-led registry where we're asking anyone in the United States who is in treatment or currently in treatment or has ever had breast cancer and is 18 years or over to provide us with their medical information. And it's all only used for research. So I'm going to show you a little bit more about our Share for Cures platform, and we can take a look at how it works.
breast cancer is smart, it's complex, and there's still a lot we don't know. Researchers need all the help they can get to discover new ways to cure breast cancer faster. That's where you come in. Each person who has breast cancer is unique, from your diagnosis and genetic makeup to your treatment path and results. Imagine if thousands of people with breast cancer could all share those unique details with researchers, giving them a more complete picture of the disease. A picture that is representative, diverse, and looks like you, like all of us. Imagine how that would help researchers learn more about breast cancer so everyone can benefit from scientific advances and get the high-quality care they deserve.
That's Susan G. Komen's Share for Cures. When you join Share for Cures, you can help accelerate the search for breast cancer breakthroughs. With thousands of others, you can help make our vision of a world without breast cancer a reality. Join us today. Share for Cures.
Lots of pink in every one of our videos, you'll see, right? So to build on this effort, I was actually the first person to sign up. I was patient 0, and it's super easy. You know, you spit in a tube, you consent. It takes about 5 minutes online, and we now are fully up and operational. So if you ever want to, or if there's a way to help us to get more people on this, on our Share for Cures platform, and you can amplify the need, then love to chat with you. And the Alliance also, what we've done also is figured out that, you know, we can't do this alone. So we've reached out to other breast cancer organizations that are also more diverse and asked them if they would help us. And so we have created this really, really cool alliance that brings together our other nonprofit friends with a shared goal of revolutionizing the breast cancer research. And so through our outreach and our education, Share for Cures Alliance members engage their unique communities. So they ask their folks. It's almost like a white label program that is powered by Komen, but is identified as the different organizations. So we're really, really close to doing some amazing work here. And you know, what we do as far as our research, our public policy and advocacy, and then helping people where they are, gives everyone the opportunity to never have to go through breast cancer alone. But despite National Breast Cancer Awareness Month, you know, which is a slog, I always call it, it's sort of like Komen's prom. We spend 30 days, we get ready for it for 11 months, and then we spend 30 days just powering through and making sure that we are telling people our mission and communicating the best we can of the most important work that we do. And you'll always hear the term awareness. Like, I don't think anyone's not aware of breast cancer, but it does get thrown around a lot, so it can start to lose its meaning. So I'm going to tell you why awareness is more than pink ribbons, and why Komen's work and your work at the center of the field is so important. And most people are really surprised to learn that 1/3 of breast cancer deaths in the United States don't need to happen if we could only get people to the care that exists today. And sadly, not everyone has the same chance of surviving breast cancer. But Komen works tirelessly to bridge this gap, and health equity is woven in absolutely everything that we do, and has been for many, many years. And we do this by educating and by building awareness of the resources and the care that's available to the countless patients who come to us. Remember the 60,000 people that call us, and then we have almost 5 million that visit our website, and they're not there to go shopping. So while early detection and advanced treatments can save countless lives, we still desperately need research, especially for the metastatic breast cancer community. And before we part ways, I just want to share a quick story with you from this very community. And this is an incredible woman by the name of Hannah.
Hi, my name is Hannah. I live in Durham, New Hampshire. I'm living with metastatic breast cancer. Research in the field of breast cancer can vary anywhere from drug trials all the way to symptom management and everywhere in between. I think that research is so important and we can't make changes in our disease management without research. And so if you want to see a change and you want to know that you can have quality of life, or you want to be here longer for your children, or you want to travel the world and see things, the only way we can do that is by forward progress in research.
Our daughter Claire is 12 years old, soon to be 13, and our son Matthias is 9. They are similar in some ways, but also very, very different.
Funding research is how I explain to my kids at the end of the day that I have hope. Because we can't move forward without it, we can't make progress. Without research, I don't have hope. And I couldn't live with myself if I wasn't able to share that hope and carry that on with my kids. I wouldn't know what to tell them. So for me, at the end of the day, like, my kids and research are all tied up together.
You know, I know how hard it is to watch stories like this because we do all the time, and unfortunately, Hannah died last week. I haven't cried on stage in a really long time. Sorry about that. But that's the sad reality for individuals that are living with breast cancer. And we weren't fast enough to save my mom, or to save Hannah, or to save anyone who is living with metastatic breast cancer right now. So while early detection and high quality care could help save one third of the lives of those deaths, I mentioned before, it's not enough to save Hannah. It wasn't enough to save my mom. It's not enough to save anyone that lives with metastatic right now. So please know, the work you do here is so important, and it impacts real people, Hannah, it saves lives, and it helps us get one step closer to a cure. So, as I often say, curing cancer takes a village. You de facto have just become part of our village. So I'm hoping that if there are ways that you can think of to support Komen, it's a really important organization. And keep up the good work that you're doing, because, you know, we're in it to win it, and we all have to be in it together. Thank you. Okay, you can go have your drinks now. It's all set.